Yes.
So the profile ran yesterday. All I had to do was just do a project clean and it ran successfully. Okay, so let me show you all a demo of that. See, this is what we had made right yesterday. So I did not add anything new to it. So this is my application YAML, and I'm using which profile now?
YAML. Application.yaml.
Which profile?
Test, sir.
Test. So if I go to my application hyphen test.yaml,
Yes, sir.
so now if
Okay.
I go to my application test.yaml, it will pick up settings from here, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
So which database will this hit?
SCS DB test
And on which port will
8084.
8084, right? So now if I start my application, okay, project has started. And on
Yes.
what port has it started?
8084. Yes.
8084. So now if I have to do the Swagger stuff. So now if I have to do a Swagger, I will hit which port now? So now if I have to run Swagger, I will hit which port?
8083. Yes.
8084.
8084 because sir, we are using test. Yes.
And which database is this using?
SCS test DB.
Database is this using? This is using 8084 and database is SCS DB test. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So this database should also be there. So I just created that yesterday. That we had created in front of you all only, correct?
Yes, sir.
So, and now this is that SCS DB test, and it has got all the three tables created. Student table is there, department table, teacher table, correct?
Yes, sir.
So now if I go and hit Swagger on which port?
8084. Yes.
8084, and I hit enter. What happened? Why is there no Swagger UI showing? You have started, right? Application has started, yes. Application has started on 8084, and we are in the startup. Okay. Swagger settings are there. Similarly, now if I try to switch my profile, so if I was using test profile, now if I want to use, let's say, local. So on what port is local running? What is the port for local? 8083. So if I go to my application YAML and I change the port from test to local, and if I save and rerun my application, that will get diverted to now my local profile. So it will fetch the data from here. So now when my application starts up, it will start up on port number 8083. Which port is it running now?
8083.
8083. Okay. Similarly, if you would go and do it on the prod, so we have the application properties for prod. then we'll have to make this database also SCS DB prod. So it will route to this configuration. Okay, we don't have any YAML file for the prod database, for the prod profile.
Yes, sir.
Like this, you can use different profiles. So the same endpoints now will go and hit at different locations. Okay, this is one thing I wanted to explain from yesterday. Okay, today's agenda is I want to show you all a class called as response entity. So as we have been
Delete to response.
In a controller, let's say, whenever we would return an object or list of object, okay, so in our get mappings, let's say here, so I would say return get all teachers or get a single teacher. So you are just returning the object or the list of object. So rather than just returning the object, we can return this object in a form of a response entity. Okay, so if you will see your professional applications, they do not just return the object, they use response entity to return that object. So they will not just return this, they'll put it in a response entity. So there's nothing new in it. Just what you have to do is put this return type in the response entity class. So you take this class and you will say return type is response entity list of teacher. That's all. Okay, and import it. Import it from here or this Spring Framework HTTP. And now while returning also, then you have to say return response entity. Okay,
Teacher.
so we'll have to make object of this now. So return new response entity, and what type of value is it returning?
Teacher.
List of teachers.
List of teacher.
Just copy it from the top.
Okay.
Just copy it from the top and now put this return type in the brackets.
Yes.
And along with that, this object, it will also add the HTTP status to it. So comma. So this is what response entity does. It adds the HTTP status to it. Dot whatever. Okay. So if it is all successful is there, then we can send okay. So we have different statuses to send. So this is what we use in the corporates. So instead of just returning the object, put that object in the response entity and return the object of the response entity. So it was just, so if I want to do it over here, let's say I'm returning a single teacher object. So how will we do this now? So instead of returning a single teacher object, copy response entity and paste it for the
here. Yes, sir.
Okay, and put that object in a type like we do for generics. And
Yes,
now
sir.
what will you say below? Return new and copy this whole thing.
Yes,
copy this whole return type,
paste here
and paste it over here. Okay,
yes,
just after new, paste it, and whatever you are returning, all this while put in the bracket. Okay,
yes, sir.
and in the bracket you have two things: one, what you are returning, and second, the HTTP.
Yes.
Okay, and you can have different statuses. In the interview, they ask a lot about these statuses. That's all we have to return. That's all change we have to make for response entity. And there are many types of status. So I'll give you a list of those statuses. So they start in the range from 200. So if your status is 200, means okay, means success. Okay means
Success.
success. Your request has been successfully processed. So if you get a response of 200, means your API has successfully executed. Okay. Then you have range of 400 also. You have range of 500 also. Okay. So a good developer should be aware of these status messages. Okay. Then what is 201? When will you use 201? Okay. When you have successfully posted. When will you use 201? When you have successfully, when a post has successfully completed, so it will return you response as 201. Okay. And when will it return 202? When it has successfully updated, means successfully put has worked. Okay.
Put has. Yes, sir.
Successfully post has worked. Successfully.
Put has worked.
If the update is successful, the response will come as 202.
Digits.
If the post is
202.
successful, response will come as
201.
201. Okay.
1.
Then 400 means what?
Not
Your request body is incorrect. What is incorrect?
request body is
We send data as request param, request body.
body. Yes, sir.
So your request param, your request body, the JSON is incorrect. Request body JSON is
Incorrect.
incorrect format. You have missed a semicolon, you have missed a double quotes, you have missed a comma, whatever. So if it returns 400, means you go and check your
Request
body of your JSON.
request
Okay?
body of
Call this as
JSON.
bad request. We call this as
Bad request.
bad request. Then what is, okay, today we will learn this authentication and authorization. Authentication and,
Authorization.
okay, these are very ambiguous terms. So we will learn this today. Authentication and authorization. Okay. So what I mean by authorize, see, as a student, okay, I'll give you all a workflow on this. I'll give you all an idea. So 403 means you are not authorized to access that API. Now what is authorized? I will tell you. You're not authorized to access the endpoint. The endpoint which you're trying to access, you're not authorized for that. That is 403. Okay, now what is 404? What is 404?
Not authentication.
Who is it? Since
Not
how long are we in the this IT industry, and we don't know what is 404? 404 is page not
page
found.
not found. Page not found.
File not found.
Page not found. Page not found.
Okay, so the endpoint doesn't exist. The endpoint
Endpoint.
which you are trying to access, that endpoint doesn't exist. So there is some spelling mistake in the endpoint. Just check the spelling of the endpoint, or check the slashes. You might have given two double slash or given some wrong in spelling. So it is saying that this endpoint doesn't exist. Okay. And then you have 500 errors also. Those are the internal server errors. Okay. Those are your
Internal server.
Error. Okay. The server failed to fulfill the request. Failed to fulfill the request. At times we don't start the server and hit the endpoint. Then you should check what response it is giving. Okay. Then 503 service unavailable. That server is down. Service unavailable. Okay. 504 is request timed out. That response was to be returned in a particular time. Let's say 10 seconds, you should have got the response. But now it is taking more than 10 seconds. So you will say request service timed out. Okay. So these are all your HTTP status responses. So try to Google them and see what all others are there. This will separate the men from the boys. In the interview, whenever he will ask, and if you are answering with the response code, it will reflect that this candidate has worked on real world life projects. And if I just giving vague answers, then it will reflect that this person is a fresher, doesn't have relevant experience in the development area. So always reply with the response code. What response? So that is the beauty of response entity. So that's why we use a lot of response entity, because we just don't return the object. We also return the status along with that. Okay, so this is one thing I wanted to clear today, response entity. Amir, you can mark this.
Oh, yes, sir.
And for today's video.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I wrote it, yes.
I also sent you on the chat. Okay, now let's start with the topic which I had shortlisted for today. Okay, so we are just nearing our course completion. Maybe tomorrow should be the last session under me. Then maybe from Monday onwards, someone from Sartaj Bhai or Shanwaz Bhai should take over and should start with the your real world project development. Okay, so we are just nearing at the end of the course. And one very important topic is security. Okay, and which is something which is cannot be compromised. Non-compromising stuff is your application should be secured. Okay, so in security we have two things, as I mentioned: authentication and authorization. Okay, this looks very ambiguous, but is very different. Okay, so let me simulate this with a scenario and explain y'all what I mean by authentication and authorization. Okay, so let's say person Alice books a online hotel, okay, from any prominent site. Let's say Make My Trip. She uses, okay, that portal, and she books a hotel. So she is registered with MMT. So MMT has Alice's mobile number and also her email address. Okay, so what they do is whenever she will book a ticket, they will send her the confirmation message on her mobile. Okay, then the confirmation PNR, and they will send her the entire ticket on email. Okay, the PDF format. So once Alice successfully books the hotel room, she'll get the confirmation PNR on her mobile number, and she will also get an email with the PDF of the ticket. Okay, she might also get the bill of payment also. She might also get the bill of payment, whatever amount she has paid, the bill of that. Now let's say Alice has booked that for 25th November. 25th November, she plans to stay in a particular hotel. Now it's 25th November and Alice now walks up. No, she checks into the hotel and she goes to the receptionist. So the receptionist will greet Alice, and Alice tells her that I have booked a stay over here, and this is my PNR which I got. Okay, 111222. She shares this PNR with the receptionist, that this is the code I got on SMS. The receptionist punches the code in her software and she says, okay, Alice. Well, yes, I'm Alice. So she says, can I have an ID proof? So now Alice has to provide an ID proof. Okay, she says, okay, I have my Aadhaar card. Will it do? Yeah, she says Aadhaar card will do. So Alice provides her Aadhaar card. Then she checks the name on the Aadhaar and the name on the bill is same. She says, okay, very good. She says, as we are a 5-star restaurant, we do double authentication. Okay. So this was the first authentication was done. Then she says, on your registered number, we are sending a OTP. The mobile number on which you got this, we are sending a OTP right now.
One-time
Can you
password.
share us that OTP? She says, yeah, sure, I'm carrying the phone. Immediately the phone rings and Alice gets the OTP. She says that OTP also. She says, okay, is 7777. She says, okay, ma'am, welcome. And then she instructs the employee that please carry ma'am's baggage, and her room is 701, whatever room she has been allotted to Alice. And she says, this is your stay over here, 701. So when will she get the keys to the room? After she has successfully authenticated. After successful
Authenticated.
authentication, right? If the authentication process fails, let's say now Ben is a fake person, and now Ben wants to impersonate and enter the hotel as Alice. Okay, and Ben has this PNR. Okay, let's say Ben has this PNR.
Yes. Okay.
Somewhere someone shares, he gets hold of Alice's phone and
Yes.
he says he gets the PNR.
Gets
Now
the PNR.
let's simulate second environment wherein Ben wants to enter the hotel. He comes at the receptionist.
Okay.
The receptionist provides the PNR to her, 111222. She will say, sir, Aadhaar. Now if he provides his Aadhaar card, will it successfully authenticate?
No, sir.
If Ben provides his Aadhaar card, will it successfully authenticate?
No, sir, not.
Because the booking is made under Alice, correct?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, even though if he provides, let's say he has a
Okay.
Xerox copy of Alice's Aadhaar card, okay, he gives her the Aadhaar card.
Okay.
Second, she will say, okay, OTP is coming to this mobile number. Now,
But mobile phone is not
that mobile phone is with Alice.
Alice. Yes, sir. In that
So he will
situation,
be
Ben
caught
will
as a fake person and he will not be allowed to enter the hotel
hotel.
and
Yes, sir.
handed over to the
Definitely.
police, right?
Yes.
So what has failed for Ben and what has succeeded for Alice?
Authentication.
Authentication. So first thing which the hotel does is
Authentication.
authentication. Okay, so is this term understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We are using authentication
Nowadays
for
you see
security purpose.
you have authentication via OTP,
Yes, sir.
you know. So
Provide valid
various ways of authentication.
or a number.
Some different companies have different way of doing it. Okay, now scenario number 2. Now Alice has checked into her room. She's staying over there. Okay, and Alice is a fitness freak and she goes to the gym daily. Now she has a 2-day stay over here, and every 5-star hotel has a gym, right? So she packs her bag and she asks which floor is the gym. They tell her it's on the 14th floor. Now she goes to the 14th floor and she sees that, okay, the gym is there. The hotel gym is there. And people are working out inside. So there's a guard who's sitting outside the gym. He says, ma'am, can I have the boarding pass or the PNR? So she says, okay, this is my PNR, 111222. And he checks in his computer and he says, ma'am, you have only access to the dining room and your hotel room. That's all. Apart from that, you have not paid. So you have taken a very basic plan, and that basic plan entitles you to access the dining room. You can have food and you can stay in your hotel room. Apart from that, you cannot avail any other service. So if you want to access the gym, it's 1500 rupees per hour we charge. So for one-time access, you can just go in one, and once you come out, your validity has expired. So if you want to use the gym for one time, you'll have to pay additional 1500 rupees. If you pay that right now, I'll create a pass and give it to you. So now, is Alice authenticated or not?
In that situation, Alice is
In
not
Alice, no, in the hotel
authenticated.
room, at the receptionist. Authentication happens at the reception.
Yes, sir.
So is Alice authenticated? Yes or no? Did the reception authenticate Alice?
Yes, sir.
But
Reception.
is Alice authorized to access the gym?
No, sir.
So this is called authorization. So even though you are an authenticated user, but you are not able to authorize, you're not authorized to access such little endpoints.
Endpoints. Yes, sir.
Okay. So she is authenticated but not authorized. So now Alice will pay 1500 rupees if she wants to access the gym.
Yes.
Okay. Let's say Alice then wants to swim also. So she goes to the swimming pool and there's a guard over there. He says, ma'am, can I have your boarding pass? He says, okay, 111222. And he says, ma'am, this boarding pass only entitles you to access the dining room and the hotel room. So you are authorized only to access which areas?
Only dining rooms and hotel room.
Yes, that is called authorization.
Yes, sir.
So you are authorized only to access these. If you want to access the swimming pool, we have a
Then pay
charge of
for that. Yes, sir.
1500 rupees for one-time access.
Yes.
You pay that and I'll create a pass for you.
Password. Yes.
Okay, so this is called as authorization. So how this happens in the application level is, so let's say there is as we are doing college, right? Let's say there is a HOD and there is a subject teacher. They are two different individuals, correct? And the HOD is sort of a manager and a head over the teachers, correct?
Yes, sir.
So if a new teacher has come, can the HOD ask the teacher, okay, now let's say December is coming, right? So many people, they plan their leaves for December.
Yes, sir.
So the HOD rolls out a Excel sheet and let's say she has 10 subject teachers. And she tells each one of them that please plan your leaves in advance and let me know on which day, which faculty is planning the leave so that I can manage the workload. So she sends this Excel sheet. Okay, for these 10 teachers, they fill the Excel sheet and they return it to the HOD. Okay, the HOD gets the information. Now this new teacher, she just joined yesterday. She comes into the HOD cabin. Now, does the HOD have the rights to ask the teachers when they are going on leave? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Because he's
Who is the head? So now
managing.
Yes.
the new teacher comes into the HOD's cabin and tells, ma'am, but you have not told us when you are going on leave. You also send me an Excel sheet of when you are planning to go on leave. Does she have the right to ask that? Can you ask your manager? So if the manager will ask you,
No.
why are you not coming on time? Can you ask your manager, sir, even you are coming late?
No, sir.
No, you don't
No,
have
sir.
that privilege, right?
No, sir. No,
So
sir.
Yes.
the HOD has the authorization, authority, you can say, right?
Yes, authority. Yes.
But the authority is, some people have high authority, some people have low authority. So HOD has high authority, and these guys don't have that much authority, right? They have low authority.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Right.
So HOD can add a teacher. Let's say, so if you are doing CRUD APIs, okay. So if we are doing CRUD APIs and so we have create teacher, update. Okay, read means view teacher and update teacher and delete teacher.
Delete teacher.
Okay, so let's take attendance as one of the entity. So she can create teacher attendance. You can mark the attendance for that day. She can read the teacher attendance. So can the HOD read the attendance? Which teacher is coming, has come on what particular day?
Yes, sir.
Can the HOD
Yes, right.
if the teacher comes and says, ma'am, I had come on that day, but I did not bring my swipe card. You know, you have a swipe card which you have to punch.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm.
I forgot to
Yes,
carry
sir.
my swipe card that day, and the system marked me as absent. You can check the CCTV
Yes.
camera. You can see my roster that I have taken lectures on that day. So please, can you update my attendance? So can the HOD update?
Yes.
And if the teacher has marked attendance incorrectly, the HOD can delete also. Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
So
sir.
create means mark attendance. Okay. So HOD can do all of this,
Yes, sir.
but subject teacher can only do one thing. She can only mark her attendance and her own attendance, right?
Yes.
Because he has
Subject
authority to do it.
teacher will only mark her own attendance. So mark subject teacher can now. So HOD can read,
Mark, read, update, and delete.
for all. Okay, I'll just put a all at the
Yes,
beginning.
sir.
For all teachers. Can read attendance of all teacher. So if any teacher is absent, any teacher forgot to bring the swipe card and she tells the HOD, ma'am, you please mark it as you see me physically present. So she can do it for all, plus for herself also. All means she is included.
Yes, sir.
And she can delete attendance. But a subject teacher now
Yes, sir.
can only do it for herself. So
Yes,
she
sir.
doesn't have that authority. So she will only do it for self.
Self.
If math subject teacher is absent, she cannot tell the physics subject teacher that please mark my attendance. She
Yes,
will
sir.
go to the HOD. So even though they both are authenticated, they both have a login ID and password, correct? To the software. The
Mhm.
HOD also has a login ID and the subject teacher also has a login ID and password. So they
Yes,
both
sir.
are legal users. They both will be authenticated.
Mhm.
Authentication will succeed for the HOD also and for subject teacher also. But if the subject teacher is trying to view the attendance of another subject teacher, so let's say we have an endpoint, view attendance, and we have a path variable as teacher number. Okay. So if the login teacher is teacher number 1. So the logged in teacher is teacher number 1. She has logged in with this ID and password. Let's see, the teacher ID is the username and whatever password she has. Okay. Whatever password she has. So who has logged into the system now? Teacher number
Subject teacher.
Teacher number
One.
1.
If
Yes.
I say
Yes, sir.
view attendance, I can only say view attendance of teacher number 1 only.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You
sir.
can see her own attendance. If the
Mhm.
teacher number 1 wants to view attendance of teacher number 2, it will be what? What will fail? Authentication will fail, authorization will fail.
Authentication.
Authorization will fail because
Authorization.
you
Okay.
cannot see the
Okay.
attendance of other
Yes.
subject teachers.
Other.
So that time you will
Right.
get a message
Patient also.
403. That time she will get a message 403. So 403 is not authorized. Got
Not
it?
authorized to access
So
that
when
point.
you get
Yes.
the error
Yes, sir.
403, so talk to the interviewer in these terms. So if he asks that if a user is not authorized to see another user, what error message will come? What is the status code? So 403 is the status code for not authorized user. Okay. And can the HOD view attendance for both of them?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Because she can view attendance for all. Now, if I have a endpoint called mark attendance, now the teacher who has logged in, is teacher number 1. So can she access this endpoint?
No,
Why? Why can't the logged in user access her own endpoint?
because one is
Logged into the system.
yes,
Which teacher has logged in?
one.
And
One.
wants to mark her own attendance. Then what is the problem?
The number should be different, that's all.
Means
So mark attendance.
for teacher number 1. Teacher number 1 is logged into the system and the teacher number
Yes.
1 wants to mark her own attendance.
Yes, sir.
Right, sir.
What is the problem, Amir?
I guess sir, Mark is a different person. So
Mark attendance is not a
Sir,
mark, not a
Mark
name.
attendance is
Mark
not a
attendance.
person, no?
Sorry. I guess Mark is a person,
Mhm.
not. So
And
I
if she
got the point.
says mark attendance,
Sir, I guess sir, Mark is a person.
Mark is not a person. Mark.
Okay. Got it, sir.
Now, if she tries to mark attendance for teacher number 2, can she mark?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Definitely.
Amir, you go and wash your face first. Go. I'll pause for meanwhile.
Mark attendance to not authorized, sir.
So if the logged in user is teacher number 1 and she wants to mark the attendance for teacher number 2, is she authorized?
Not authorized.
What is that so confusing in this? I have not even started the programming of this. So what will happen when you start the programming? But can the HOD mark the attendance for both?
Yes, sir. Right.
So why is that allowed is because every user is linked to a role. Okay, this is the keyword. This is the main thing. Every user is linked to a role. So I will link the HOD to the admin role. Which role?
Admin
Super
role.
user role. And
Yes,
I
sir.
will link the subject teacher to the simple user role. So admin role and user role. So this is your admin and your subject teachers are simple only
User.
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 So admin can access all the endpoints, right? And user can access only limited endpoints, correct? Now, if the owner of the hotel walks in, okay, if let's say Charles is the owner of the hotel, he owns the hotel. So the receptionist will see, okay, this is the boss coming, and boss has already been authenticated that he is a boss. He's coming daily over here. And now, if he goes to the dining room, will they stop him?
No, sir.
No.
If he goes to the gym, will they stop him?
No.
No, sir.
If he goes to the swimming pool, will they stop? Why?
Yes, sir. Fully
Because he has,
authorized, sir.
what is the role? What is the role he is having? Owner, right? He is
Admin
the
role,
Owner.
sir.
Admin
owner.
role.
Owner.
Yes.
Whatever. In
Yes,
his
sir.
case, the role is owner. So
Hmm.
every person is assigned a role. So someone has a manager role,
Right, sir.
someone has an employee role. So depending on the role, what you have in the
HR role.
your authority will depend on the role. Authority will depend on the
Role.
role. Okay. So your authority. So okay, just associate authority with roles. Okay, authority and roles are one and the same. So your authority depends on the role what you have. So if your role is admin, then authority is complete authority. And if your role is admin, then limited authority. Correct? So if role is admin, then complete authority. And if role is user, then
Limited authority.
limited authority. So
Yes.
how will I authorize? Depending on the role I will grant. So I will grant each user a role. I will grant each user a
Role.
if
Role.
in my college I have 10, 11 teachers, right? One HOD and 10 subject teachers, correct?
Yes, sir.
So let's say Alice is a subject teacher. So I will give her the role as
User.
user. Ben is a subject teacher. I will give
Limited.
role as
Authorized.
User.
User.
and Charles is a subject teacher. You role as
User.
User.
blah blah blah. And let's say Tom is the HOD.
Damn. Yes.
So Tom
Admin.
is which role?
Admin.
Okay. And if you go back to college days, you will realize that the HOD also taught one subject.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, one theory
Okay.
subject the HOD would
Yes.
also teach
Used
per
to.
semester.
Yes, sir.
So this relationship between user and admin is
One-to-one.
many to many. What is the relationship between user and role? What is
One-to-many.
what is one to many? What is many to many difference? If the
One
communication
table
is
is
unidirectional,
connected with lots of one table. One table is connected with more than one table is called a one-to-many.
if the communication is one way, that is called one to many. If the communication is two way, that is called many to many. So if I say department and employee, if I say department and employee, how will we map department and employee table with?
Is a ID is the same for
One to many. One to many. One department has many
Which
employees.
which direction?
Yes,
What many? One employee, one department has.
Many
many
employees.
employees.
It goes only in unidirectional.
Yes, sir.
It
Unidirectional.
is also possible that one employee works in many departments.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. It's a
People are working different company at the same time.
You are hired
nahi,
as a software
no.
engineer. Will be in the
Like
IT department, right?
admin person is also taught a subject
If
to
you are in the IT department, you will be
okay.
linked to that department only. They will not be associated with any other department. So this is one, and the arrowhead is many. Okay, the tail of the arrow is one.
So we can see, sir, the white page.
Now,
Yes, sir.
so
Thank you.
tail of the arrow is one, and the head of the arrow is many. So how will we
Yes.
have one department has
Many employees.
many employees, because it is one directional. Okay,
Yes, sir.
you cannot visualize this as bi-directional. Can you visualize this, that one employee works in many departments, that you are hired for IT department also, and they're asking you to do work of mechanical department also? Will you do that?
No,
No.
no, sir. No.
Generally you are associated with one team.
One team.
Okay, this is called one to many. But when the arrowhead becomes bi-directional, it goes from here also and it goes from year to year also. This is
Many to
called as
many.
many to many. It is called as
Many to many.
many to many. So when I have bi-directional one to many,
Example, sir.
as example as actor movie.
Okay.
Example as actor movie. So if I have one actor,
Or in case of IT, sir, what is the example?
yeah, I'll take. So if I have Shah Rukh Khan, I have movies. Okay, let's say Pathan and Jawan. So one actor, many movies. Okay,
Yes, sir.
and then let's say I have one more actor called Deepika. Okay,
Same
and
movie.
let's say we have Chennai Express or whatever movie or any other movie of Deepika. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I don't know which movie has she acted in.
Om Shanti Om.
Okay, just check Chennai Express. So now one actor, many movies,
Yes, sir. One
and in one
actor.
movie, Chennai Express, there are many actors.
Yes, sir.
So this is called as.
Many to many.
So when you have bi-directional one to many, that is called as many to many. So here in your role and user is many to many. Role and user will be what? Many to many, not one to many. Okay, so let's take user and let's take the roles. So we have user as Alice and we have a user as Tom, and we have role as user and admin, correct? Okay, so you can call this as employee if you want. It is confusing you. Call it as the employer. Why this is turning out to be this? So take this as an employee table. So who are the two employees? So now Tom is the HOD, correct?
Yes, sir.
So HOD does managerial work also and subject work also, right?
Both.
So HOD will be a user also and will be a
Admin also.
admin. So one employee has many roles, correct? And
Correct.
one role has many users. So user is Alice also and Ben also, correct? See, Tom is a
But
HOD.
sir, in case of Alice or Ben, both are not in a admin role, na sir.
Yeah.
Only Tom are in
Yes. So
is involved in admin role.
one employee has many roles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tom is employer also
Tom is a
HOD,
subject. Your
Hmm.
HOD is
subject
also
teacher,
a subject teacher.
teacher,
Yes.
and
Yes,
yes,
sir.
sir.
One to many
Many.
from
Yes, sir.
left to right,
Yes, sir.
and your user is Tom also and Alice also. One to many this
Alice
also.
also. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. Yes, sir.
One to many bidirectional becomes many to many. So
Many.
we will configure this. We will use many to many while configuring it.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
So this is the authentication and authorization. Okay. So this is what I have on the plate today. So this comes under the broad topic of Spring security. So now Spring Boot has given all your lot of utilities, right? Yesterday we learned about utilities. The Lombok utility has made life very simpler to
Yes,
make
sir.
the Pojo classes. Okay, the auto wired utility, no need to create the object, just auto wire it. So it has
Yes.
made development simple. So if you compare your coding in Java, core Java, and coding in Spring Boot, you will realize the coding in Spring Boot is much simpler in
Much simpler.
coding
Yes.
in Java.
Just have to some annotation.
Yes, it all annotation based. All
Yes, sir.
annotation based. Spring Boot is totally annotation based.
Yes, sir.
So they have also given you one more utility called as security. So if I add the security dependency, then Spring Boot, gives you, when you join a company, they give you a basic onboarding kit. It has a notepad, it has a pen, maybe it
Yes.
has that
Bag, company bag.
company bag, and that lace in which you put your iCard in. Basic
Yes.
stuff they give you, right?
Yes, sir.
That is your onboarding kit.
Onboarding kit.
So similarly, as you add the security dependency, okay, the Spring security starter, okay, as you add this dependency, so Spring Boot gives you a basic security feature. Just by adding the dependency, Spring Boot will give you a basic form-based authentication. What will it give you? A basic form-based
Base authentication.
authentication. So Spring Boot will add a login form by itself. No, you don't have to do any coding for that. And that form will ask, so if you are trying to hit any endpoint, okay. So if you are trying to hit any endpoint, and let's say you are trying to add get all teachers. You want to see all the teachers, and you try to hit this endpoint. So as you hit this endpoint, it will divert to the login page first. It will will be diverted to the login page. And that login page will have two text boxes. Text box 1 for the username, and text box 2 for the password. Okay, by default, the user which Spring Boot uses is user, USER, all small. And if you add this dependency, each time on the console, it will give you alphanumeric password. Okay, it will give you a alphanumeric password. You have to paste this password and then you can hit this endpoint. So if you are trying to access any of the endpoints and you have added the Spring Boot Charter Security dependency, all your endpoints will be routed, okay, diverted or routed to the login page, in which you have to enter the username and password. By default, username is user and password will reflect on the console. So when you start our application, at startup time, it shows the port number, started in 21 seconds. Yes. On that page, on that startup console page, you will see the password. So copy that password and paste it, and you will be able to access the endpoints. Okay, so it gives you a login and plus logout page. And once you have logout, then again you can re-log in. So this basic feature will be added just by adding the Spring Boot Starter Security. So let's try to do it. So now see, now if I try to hit any endpoint, I have not added the start security. Okay, I have not added the security dependency yet. So I have Spring Boot Starter Data JPA, Spring Boot Starter Web, Spring Boot Starter Test, Swagger, and Log4j. That's all. So what you have to do is just copy this dependency and paste it and call it by what name? What name? What is the name of the dependency? Starter. Yes.
Security.
Security.
Don't need to give any scope, nothing. Okay, just format it, Control Shift F. Control Shift F. What happened? Why is it not taking? Okay, I save this. And now it is downloading the dependency. Now if I start my application, let's see on what profile I am running. So now just divert it to local, okay? So where is my resources? Resources, application, YAML, divert it to local, and this is my local running on port number 8083. And it's downloading. Okay, done. Now let's try to run the college application. And now if you run the application, you will see on the console, it will paste the password. Okay, you see? See the password?
Yes, security password. Yes.
Okay. Now if you go and hit any endpoint, now let's go and hit the Swagger UI. Port are we on?
8083.
Okay, so it diverts me to the
Login page.
what is the default user?
User.
Now what is the password?
Wait.
Copy.
Yes, sir. No.
And this at each run it will give you a new password. Okay,
Okay.
at each run it will give you a new password. Now why is it not mapping over here? 8083 also, this is HTML, right?
404.
HTML is same HTML. Okay,
Yes. Yes.
now it is routing.
Polish controller. Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so whenever you will and then you can log out also and re-log in with a different user. Okay, So this is the basic feature you will get when you add this. Okay, but so now if you don't want to use the basic feature and you want to give your own user defined username and password. Okay, so for that what we have is, for that you'll have to go to the application properties and set your own user. Okay, so it is called as spring dot security, okay, dot user dot name, and give whatever name you want to give. So let's say if you want to give Alice with a capital A, and you want to give your own password, you want to give dot password. Okay, so you want to give Alice or Alice123 as the password. Okay, so once we set this, then it will not generate the password for us. But as we are using a YAML file, we have to take this and convert it into a YAML. Paste it in the application YAML. Here you have to paste it, right, in your local. Here you'll have to paste it over here. So where is my application YAML? This is local properties. Okay, let's try to paste that over here. Where did we write that? Oh. So just uncomment it, and now we'll try to make a YAML of this. Okay, now we'll try to make a YAML of this data, and that will be my local. Okay, local is 8083, correct? Yeah. So take all that information, go to what? Properties to YAML converter, paste this, convert, and now you have got the,
We can see only Eclipse page.
yeah, so I've pasted that in this converter, and now I'll copy this converted data and paste it back to the my local YAML. So now my application local YAML has the Spring security username as Alice, password as Alice123. Now if I run my application, it will not prompt me this password, because I have given my own password. Okay, so the same popped up yesterday also, right? So what I did is I did a project, clean, chose my project and cleaned it. That's all I did.
So we add a wood dependency of H2.
No, just clean that project. It will do that. No need to add any. H2 is a in-memory database. Okay, so I've done the cleaning. Now let's try to run the application. Okay, it runs. Perfect. This is what you were struggling yesterday, right? So
Yes.
now it is running on port number 8083. And did it prompt me with any password?
No.
With any password? Do you see any password over here?
Mm.
No, right? So now if I go and try to hit my Swagger endpoints. Okay, now if I go in this Swagger UI, it'll ask me for the user ID password. Now what do I enter?
Alice and Alice 123
Capital A,
password.
right?
Yes, sir. Capital A.
Capital layer password is also the wireless 123.
Yes.
So now if I go, I can enter Alice and Alice 123.
Yes, sir.
No need to save that. And you have got the access to the controller. It is understood. So if you want
Yes,
to, but that is only for a single user. If you're making a single system application, then this is good. Okay, but what if you want to have multiple users and you also want to do authorization that Alice is a user and Tom is a HOD. Alice should have access to these endpoints. Tom should have access to all the endpoints. Now for
Yes.
that, okay, for that to take place, then what we will do is we will not use these hard coded usernames. Okay. So control / what happened? Why is this comments not working? I'll comment out this information that I don't want to use the hard coded usernames. And now what I will do is do the authentication in a different way. That is, see, now what is hard coded? What is the meaning of hard coded in programming terms?
When we define a variable with some value,
Mhm.
like a equal to 30, int a equal to 30, int b equal to like this, hard coded.
Okay, so if now in my program only, if I give the username and okay, in my program before runtime, before what?
Before runtime, yes, sir.
If I specify the username and password, this will be hard coded, right?
Yes, sir.
So if I have
Absolutely.
integer a, and if I say a equal to 10,
Yes.
when has
It's
a got the value?
Yes, sir.
When has a got the value? Before runtime or after runtime?
Before runtime, sir.
So this is called hard coded, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if I say integer a, SOP, enter a number, and then I scan it, put it into a. This is
Yes,
what?
sir. After the runtime, it will
It's dynamic, right?
dynamic. Yeah.
Here I don't know what will be the value of a. Can be
Yes,
anything.
sir. It
So
depend upon.
similarly, we can do hard coded authentication in the application. One way I showed you, you put the values in the application.properties file, right? But there you can only put one user, correct? And we don't even know the role of that user. So if you want to create hard coded users with roles before runtime, that is at compile time only, you know. Then for that we call as in memory authentication. What we call that as?
Memory authentication.
In memory.
In memory authentication.
We call it as in memory authentication. And if you want to do it at runtime, that if you have 1,000 users and which user will log in, we don't know.
Yes, sir.
Right. So if you are using Amazon, so does the developer of Amazon know that I will log in with this ID password?
No, sir.
He say Alice 123. Can he hard code it? He cannot, right? So that is called as DAO authentication, data access object authentication. Okay, that is from the database we will take the value. From the database you will fetch the user with roles. The user and the roles values will be fetched from where?
Database, sir.
Database. And every second one new user is registering, right? So I don't know what are the values because they are all in the database and there can be millions of users over there,
Yeah.
correct?
Same time also.
Yes. So I don't know which the user will log in. So that is called as DAO authentication, and this is called as in-memory authentication. So let me show you both. This is what we will implement in our application, right?
Sir, what is DAO? DAO stand for what?
Data access object. DAO layer, repository layer.
Yes,
Repository
sir.
layer is called as the DAO layer, which interacts with the database. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So now if you want to do your own authentication, so first thing first, what did we do? We commented out the hard-coded username and password, correct?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. And now what you have to do is you have to go to your application and make a security package also. So make a package by security. Okay. So make a package by .security. And in this security package, we have to make a class. Okay, you can name whatever name you want to give to the class. I give it as web security config. Okay, let me first explain you what is the purpose of this web security config. Okay, so this you should know. What is the purpose of web security config? Okay. So now let me go back to the drawing board. Understood the difference in memory and DAO authentication?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
Yes, sir.
we have authentication. Okay, we haven't touched authorization. See, so authentication is to check the validity of the user is done by a class called as authentication manager. You know which class?
Authentication manager.
The class called by the name authentication manager.
Manager.
Okay. In that authentication manager is a function called as authenticate. What is the function name?
Authenticate.
Yes. So this is the class. Okay, these are all inbuilt classes. So the class is authentication manager, and there is a function called as authenticate, which does the authentication. Whatever is an inbuilt class. But as a programmer, I don't have direct access to this class. I don't have direct access to this class. I cannot directly call methods of this class as a programmer. This is me as a programmer. So in between, I have a second class called as authentication manager builder. Which is that?
Authentication manager builder.
That will help me communicate with the
Build authenticate.
authentication manager class. So it's a builder for authentication manager builder. Okay. So is this understood? What is authentication manager and what is authentication manager builder? If you want to access the authentication manager, you have to access it via the authentication manager builder class. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So let's say this and this has an object called auth. What object does it have?
Auth.
Auth.
Auth object. Okay. And this authentication manager builder is found in a function called as configure. It's found in a function called as
Configure.
configure. So this authentication manager builder is a parameter of which method? Which method? The authentication manager
builder. Yes.
is a
Configure.
is found in which method? Configure method.
Configure, no? Yes, sir.
And this configure method is found in a class called as web security configure adapter.
Security adapter.
Web security
Configure
configurer adapter. Which class is it found in?
web security configure adapter.
So now it is my responsibility that I extend this class. So I make a class,
class na sir
class ABC, and which extends. So I have to get hold of the configure method. I have to extend this class. So I make my own class, whatever name I give it. So I don't give ABC to it. I give a name called as web security config. Because this class, this is my own defined class. Okay, so you can give ABC,
Okay.
whatever name you want to give
Yes.
to this class, but give a proper name. So I give it as web security config. So what will my web security config class do? Will extend the web security
Configure adapter
Configure.
class.
So, and I have to go and override which function of that now?
Configure.
Configure.
And that configure function will give me object of authentication manager builder, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that with this object, now I can contact the authentication manager.
Authentication manager.
So this is the roadmap we have to follow. So the programmer will make this class. Programmer will make which class?
To build the
Which will
authentication
extend
manager.
the web security configure adapter, which will have the configure method whose argument is authentication manager builder, and this authentication manager builder will help us to communicate with the authentication manager. This all is done internally. Okay, so if you want to do your in-memory authentication, you have to follow this roadmap. So let's go and first, so this class will be the security package. This class which I made is in the security package. Okay, so this is your package will be ... security. So for that reason, I have made the security package. So in that, now which class will we make? The security. Yes, tell me.
Web security.
Make a new class. Okay, whatever name. Web security config. Web security
Config.
This will take part of the. This will take care of the configuration only. There's nothing. There's no business logic in it. Just configuration.
Yes.
And it will extend which class?
Security.
So web security, as you give a control space bar, web security configurer. Got it?
Yes, sir.
Web security
Adapter.
Now
Yes,
this
sir.
class is deprecated. Okay, this class is deprecated means the newer version of Spring Boot doesn't use it. So we will see that also, that what the new version of Spring Boot use. Okay, now we come inside this class, and which function do we have to override? And this is a configuration class. What is this class? This is not an entity. This is not a, there's no business. This is not a service class. There's no business logic in it. This is which class? So note it as note it as what? @ configuration. Okay, so this class will only have the configuration. Now which method do we have to override of this class? So give a control space bar. Give a control space bar. And which function do you have to override? Tell me. Configure with the, you see this? There are 3 configures. Configure with the authentication manager builder, configure with the HTTP security, configure with the web security. Which configure? Configure with the authentication manager builder. Now it has got an argument called auth. So now using this auth, you can say which type of authentication are we using? I'm using the hard-coded one. I'm using the hard-coded first. So what is the hard-coded authentication called? In-memory authentication, right? So I'm using that right now. So auth dot, you will get a method called as in-memory, you see? And then this will use the builder pattern. This will use the builder pattern. And then give what username you want to give. So write with user. So let's now use Ben. And what will be his password? So just give dot password, and I'm giving Ben123. And what will be his role? What was the other word which I used for role? Who can tell me? I used a word for role. At whenever you are describing role, use this term, authority. What did I say?
Authority.
Role is synonym to authority, right? Now we have to give authorities to Ben. So let's make Ben the admin. Let's make Ben the admin. So dot authorities. And it is giving authority or authorities means what? What does this mean? Authorities means what?
Authority means more than one.
You can give more than one authority. You can pass a list also of authorities to it. So what am I
Yes.
passing to it now is the admin. Okay. And now I have got my first this user. Okay. Is the password visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
This is
Yes,
called as
sir.
plain text. This is called as what?
Plain
Plain
text.
text. This is called as plain text. So now you cannot have the password as plain text. So for that we have a password encoder. So what we have, just write this password encoder. The return type is password encoder, and we can make a method get password encoder, because we are doing this because our password is plain text. So when you will do DAO authentication, we will not give password as plain text. We will give it in encrypted format. Okay, and make a bean of this. Okay, make a bean of this, and just write a method return. Now we are not doing any encoding, right? So you can just say no op password encoder. And this is the singleton pattern we are doing. So we'll get the instance of that. This is the singleton pattern. So you are adding this Control Shift O to import the bean. We are adding this because our password is visible over here and we are not using any encoding. So that's all. So now if you are hard coded the value, now if you run the application, we will have to provide this details. This line which is cancelled, okay, the strike through is this class is no more used by the latest Spring version. It's called deprecated. Okay, now I have, let's go to the Swagger UI and try to hit the endpoint. Now if I try to hit the endpoint with Alice and Alice 123, if I try to hit, what it is telling me?
Bad credentials.
Bad credential, because now Alice is no more user. Now if I log in with
Ben 123.
Ben123, now it will log me in. Getting it?
Yes.
So like this, you can add multiple users also. So in the this we could have done in the application properties also. What was the need of doing all this? So here you can add multiple users by giving dot and. So use the builder pattern, and as many users you want, you can keep on adding with different roles. Okay, so if you want to also add Charles and Charles 123 and make him the user, whatever you want, you can do that. There's no semicolon will come only once in the builder pattern. Now how many users we have?
2 users.
Okay.
Ben and Charles.
Ben and Charles. So now we can also log in with Charles credentials also. Like this, you can keep on giving the and and add as many users you want to add. So now let me go and log in with Charles. See whether it allows me to log in. Okay. Charles, okay. I'm adding Charles and I'm adding 1, 2, 3. Will it allow me?
No.
Add credentials. Charles and
Charles 1, 2, 3.
Charles 1, 2, 3. Sign in and allow. Got it?
Yes, sir.
So this is hard coded in memory authentication. I am doing like this. You can keep on adding as many users. Okay. And one user can have multiple authorities, correct?
Sir, it's a predefined एडिशन सर, लेकिन सर अगर कोई और मतलब इसमें ऐड करे unknown, then how it shows?
That is in the DAO.
Okay.
That is in the DAO. We can use that. So now if you want to add, what we will do in the application, it's just a beginning. I'm just giving you a basic idea now. Gradually we are moving to the DAO.
Okay.
That is what we use. Okay. Okay. Then there is one more. Okay. Then there is one pattern called as decorator pattern. Okay. So learn these terms: singleton pattern, decorator pattern. What decorator pattern does is it takes an object and keeps on applying wrappers like how we decorate it. So it takes one, like if you want to give a gift to your friend, okay, so you want to take a gift. So first thing first, what you do, you buy the gift from the shop. This is the gift. This is the perfume bottle, correct? So will you just give the bottle like this? You will put it in a gift wrap. You'll first put it in a box. You'll put the perfume bottle in a, this is the box, right? Then you will put the box in the gift wrap, right? And then you will put the gift wrap in a nice carry bag. You will put the gift wrap in the nice carry bag. So what are you decorating? This is the carry bag. So what are you decorating? What is the main thing to use? Is the carry bag of any good use to him? Is the wrapper any good use? Is the box is going to use? What is he going to use actually?
Perfume, sir.
Perfume.
So this is the actual object. This is called a decorator pattern. Okay. So decorator pattern, what it does, it takes the object and applies extra things to the object so that that particular object only value adds and some extra things get added to that object. So here what we are going to do, where we are going to use decorator pattern. So let's say that we had the two users we just created. So what were the two users we created in memory?
Ben and Charles.
Yes, correct. And what attributes do they have?
Username and password.
Username and password, and one more thing. User, okay, and just give a shortcut. And it also had authority. Okay, so what we do is, and assuming they were in this in memory data structure, let's say it's an array list. So we had Ben and the password and the authority. Authority is important because authority will allow the authorization will be done on the authority. So
Right.
authentication will be done on the username password, but authorization will be done on the authority. And we have Charles and Charles password, whatever it is, and Charles authority. Okay. So at login time, when I enter the login page which opens up, which Spring gives me by default as my starter, what does it ask me for?
Username and password.
Perfect. So it just asks me for this. So what it does is goes in the database and checks whether this user is there or not. Correct?
Right, sir.
Yes,
Correct.
right.
Search by the user name. So there's a function called load user by username. Load user by,
Username.
what is the function name?
Load user
by
by username.
username. So it will go and check whether this function exists or not. Correct?
Correct, sir.
Okay. So this load user by username is in a interface called user detailed service. And what is it taking argument as? A string username, correct?
Yes, sir.
So this string username, and this will have, so it will go and fetch for me, okay, that object. So this is in which interface? User details service. Which interface is this in?
Sorry.
User details service. So if I have to override this method, what do I have to do? If I have to override this method, what do I have to do?
Implement the user detail service.
Absolutely correct. So you will make your own class, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will say class my user detail service IMPL. And what will that class do? Implements
Implement my
Yes, sir,
user
implement.
detail services.
implements the interface. I will not have the interface keyword over here, right?
Yes, sir.
So you will make your own class by whatever name you want to give, and you will say it implements which interface. And
User
this class will override the which method?
load user by username.
Username.
Yes,
So
sir.
what this will do, this will just go and search in the database that this user is there or not. Okay. And if it is there, it will return the user. If it is not there, it will return not found. Correct?
Yes, sir.
So now what will it go and search for? String username. Which username will it search for?
Ben.
Ben. Is Ben there? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
If it is there, it will go and give me the core object. Okay. In the decorator pattern, the core object, which is the core object? Okay. So the core object is called as user. Called as what?
User.
So what did
Sorry.
it give me? It gave me a user that his name is
Ben.
okay.
Yes, sir.
That user exists. If I have passed over here Smith, what would this return me?
User is
Null,
not in database.
null would
Null.
come.
Null. Null. Yes, sir. Null.
Null would come. So first it will go and search for the user. If the user there, it will return me the user. If the user is not there, it will return me null. In our case, user was there, so it returned me the username, right? Because our user was Ben. Now I have to decorate this user using the decorator pattern. First, I will decorate with its password. What will I decorate with it? Decorate it with its, yes, guys?
Password. No?
Password. So what is the password?
At Ben123.
Yes. Okay. Then I will also decorate it with many other things. Is the account of Ben active or not active?
Active, sir.
If you have taken Netflix subscription for 1 year
Yes. Okay.
and
Yes,
after
sir.
1 year you log in, will it allow you?
No,
No.
sir. Account is suspended.
Account expired or not expired?
Expired. Yes, sir.
So I will check I will also allow wrapper now and check whether the account is expired or not. Okay. I will check for the expiry of that account. Okay. So all this is okay. Then if you enter the password 3 or 4 times incorrect, it locks your account, right?
Yes, sir.
So I will check whether account is non-locked. So I will keep on adding this wrapper to that object. That account is locked or non-locked. Okay. So check the expiry, account is locked or unlocked. Okay. Now at times, if you do the banking application, no, they give you a password. That password expires after 3 months. Have you seen that?
Yes, sir.
So
3
is
months.
it
Yes, sir.
expired or not?
Internet banking.
Internet banking, they give you lots of bank follow this. That
Yes,
the
sir.
password expires after 3 months.
After 3 months. Yes, sir.
So here,
You have to change the password after 3 months.
yes, so I will also check
Yes, sir.
whether my password has expired or not. So once I take the core object with the decorator pattern, I will keep on decorating with all this stuff that is the credentials expired or not. Is the credentials expired? Okay. Is the account enabled? So all this stuff I will do. So this is done by a class called as user details. Which class does this?
User details.
Yes. So I'll take a different color. So who does this decorating?
User details.
Yes. Which is that class? User
Details.
Are you getting it?
Yes.
So first you get the core user, and then you have to decorate that core user with many stuff. So who gives you the core user? Which class gives you that?
User details
service.
service.
So be alert. Okay, here this is which is very slippery part. So the user details service will just give you what? The perfume.
User is perfume. Yes, sir.
Okay, so if it is there, it will give you. If it is not there, it will give you null.
None. Yes.
And once you get that object, you have to add all these decoration to it. So who
Yes.
does the decoration?
User details class.
User details. Is this understood? This also is the interface. This also is an interface. So you have to make your, how will you use this interface now? How will you use this interface? So you will make a class called as my user details.
My user details. Yes. And implement that.
Yes. Which implements.
Implements user details.
Correct. And what will this do now? Override which all methods?
Which all password expired, locked, and locked.
It has 7 methods. It has what?
Yes, sir. 7 method. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, we forgot to add the most important decoration. The first decoration which it will do. What are the authority of this user? We forgot to add that only.
Yes,
The first
authority.
decoration it will do is, okay, I have got Ben. Now what is Ben's?
Employee.
Is admin.
Admin.
Authority.
Okay.
What is his
Authority.
Yes, sir.
authority?
Authority.
That also
Yes,
we have
sir.
to decorate.
Yes,
So
sir.
the first decoration what it will do is, what is the
Authority.
authority of Ben? What is the password? What is
Yes.
the password expired or not? Is the account locked or unlocked? Is the credential expired? All this it will decorate. So there are 7 methods which we have to override. In which class?
My user details.
Which implements.
User details.
So now I want you to just recap me. What is the user? These are 3 very ambiguous terms. Okay, 3 very ambiguous, very similar terms. So I want you to know what is user, what is user detail service, and what is user details? Who can just do a quick recap on these three ambiguous terms in his or her own word? Yes, Amir, what is user?
Yes, a user, it, it is a record in our database.
Correct, very good, nice.
Yes, sir. It's a user details.
Yes, correct.
The user details service. It is a interface. Correct.
Mhm.
It will.
It
It's
will give me
working
the user. It will give me the
user from the database like
yes.
Ben and
So user
Charles.
detail service is to just give me the user,
Yes, sir.
and user details is work is to decorate that user.
Decorate that user. Yes, sir.
Correct. Got it?
Yes, sir. I
So
understand.
now which, so let me now show you this using your in memory. So now this was one way of doing in memory. Now let's do in memory using all this decorator pattern.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now I will comment out this. Okay. So now I will not. So which authentication am I using? DAO or in memory?
Down.
Am I using DAO over here? This is DAO.
No. It is
DAO is the
in
data
memory, sir. It is in memory.
in memory. So
Yes, sir.
now there's a, so for all your authentication, you have your managers. So there will be a in memory authentication or in memory user details, I guess it is. In memory user details, okay? So this will give me the list of all the users, okay? So list of user details. This is the object I'm making. List of user details. Okay. So I want the list of user details. So, and it is a class object I have to make. So what will I say? New. So I made an object of which class?
In memory user details manager.
So now let me make my first user. So user is an inbuilt class. User is an inbuilt class in Spring. Okay. So now using that class, let me make its object using the builder pattern. So user dot with user name. Okay. So now let's use username Smith. Next what?
User password.
Same, just same thing.
Yes, sir.
Dot password
Password.
Smith and dot authorities. Let's say Smith is the admin. And then you have to say dot build, right? Builder pattern we are using. So I've got the first user. Okay. So this is giving me the user. It is giving me the user with the authorities. Guys, this is giving me the user.
Yes,
This is
sir.
giving me a simple user or decorated user. Tell me. This is just giving me the user or it is giving me the decorated user.
Simple user, sir.
No, I am giving the
Just
authorities.
simple user, sir.
Authority. Simple
No,
user.
when I add the authorities, it is no more simple user. If the user
Okay.
is given with the authority, it is not a simple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, this keyword
Authority.
decorate.
Decorated.
So who gives me decorated user?
User detail.
User detail.
So I will store this in the user details now. So on the LHS, I will have a object of user details.
User
Okay.
details.
Let's call it
Yes.
as your user one. Okay. Let's call it as your user.
One.
Okay. And import this also, user details. Okay. From the core user detail. Got it? So I've got one user. Similarly, you make one more user. User 2. Okay. And give it as Jack and Jack 1, 2, 3, Smith 1, 2, 3. And give Jack as the I did a Control Shift F, it just formatted that, but I want it on separate lines. Okay, so I rather do this. So whenever doing your builder pattern, no, do it on separate lines. This looks more readable. Okay. So if you are asked in the interview, how do you make your program more readable? So you can say I would add comments on whenever needed. So you have to add comments like this. Okay. So this is the comment. So you can say, oh, you're creating the
This comment is used
in memory users.
multi-line, sir.
So like this, you can say I would write comments on important lines. And second, whenever I would use builder pattern, I would use on separate lines. This would make your program more readable. I would give the function names, proper class names as proper names. So just by reading the class name, people will understand what that class is doing. I would give the endpoints proper meaningful names to the endpoints. So just by reading the endpoint, people would come to know what this endpoint is doing. Are you getting it? So when you asked what measures you have taken to make the program more readable. So this makes it more readable. Now I have two users. Okay. Now we can create this users. Okay. Now to the list of users, you add this users. Okay. To the list of users, what we have now, you add which two users will you add? Dot create user from where? User 1 and user 2. We'll add both these users over there. And now to this authentication service, the auth, this auth would do everything, right? This auth, the parameter over here, this one. Now we have to tell this auth that I am using my user details from here. Okay, so as you say, user detail service, it will ask, and you are getting it from which list of users? I'm getting of this from this list of users. So like this, you can also use a decorator pattern for your in-memory authentication. This comment was not required. So what I did is, as I'm using in-memory, so I make a list of user details. Then I make the user details class because it is giving me a decorated user. So I have two decorated users now with the authorities. Then I add these decorated users to the list of the users. And to my in-memory, I add this user detail list. Now these are my authenticated users. Okay. I commented out the previous one, right? I do a save. And now let's do a run. And as my password is visible over here, so I have to write this over here that I'm not using any encoding for my password. But at times you have to also give the encoder what we're using. So there is a very prominent encoder called bcrypt encoder. So when we will do DAO authentication, that time we will use bcrypt because we will be storing the password in a encrypted format. We will not store the password in human readable format. Okay, application has loaded. Now I go to my Swagger and try to hit this endpoint. Now who are my legitimate users? Now who are my legitimate users?
Jack and
Smith and
Smith and Jack.
Smith 1, 2, 3. So let's log
Yes.
in with Smith now. Smith. If I log in with Smith and 1, 2, 3, will it allow me?
Yes, sir.
Is it?
No.
Smith and Smith 1, 2, 3.
Smith 1, 2, 3. Yes.
And now if I log in, it has logged in. Got
Yes.
it? So this is what authentication have we used?
In
memory
memory.
or DAO?
In memory.
Authentication, and I've showed you all the flavors
Right
of.
now in memory.
Okay. Now tomorrow we will do the DAO authentication. In that, what I will do is, I'll just give you a heads up. In that, what I will do is I will make 3 tables. First, the user table, which will just have the user details. And then second, the role table, which will have the role details. Okay, so now if we have, let's say, Alice and Ben as 2 users, so every user will have because these are entity classes, right? So there will be a ID attribute with the primary key. That will be what? User ID. Every user will have a user ID. Then every user will have a username.
Username and password.
User will have a password. Got it? 3 things we'll give to every user.
And authentication.
And then we'll have a role. Okay, the role. This is a user table. Let's give 3 attributes to the user, and we have a role table. We'll have 2 attributes. Okay, role table will just have 2 attributes: role number and role name. So role ID and role name. Okay, so let's say I just have 2 roles right now. Role ID 1 is admin, capital admin, and 2 is user. So I have 2 roles as of now. You can create as many roles you want. And I have, let's say, 2 users. One is Alice, and now I will not store the password as plain text. I will go to the bcrypt generator. So there is a utility. Okay, so you see my web browser. So you see bcrypt generator. So now when I will store Alice, I will not store Alice as plain text. I will store the password Alice123, and I'll give 12 rounds of encryption, and I'll encrypt, and I will store this as a password. $2A. So now in Alice, this is my password for Alice. Okay, I'll just reduce it down. And now when I will store Ben, I will not store the password as plain text. Okay, some encrypted format will be there. $2A followed by blah 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 $x anything. And now as it is many to many, what happens in many to many? What happens in many to many? This is users table, this is roles table. So what
One
happens?
user have many roles.
And you have a third table which does the mapping in many to many, right? And the primary key of both the tables are over here. You have to go and revisit the topic of many to many when you are doing database. So you'll have a third table with users underscore roles automatically created, but you have to feed the data to this table. So the primary key of the left table and the primary key of the right table. And here you can now do the mapping. So I found to give Alice both. Alice is the HOD. So Alice is the HOD 1, user number 1.
We can see only
Admin.
web page, sir.
Hmm?
We can see only web page, sir. Yeah.
So Alice, now the third table is the user underscore roles with the primary key of the left table and the primary key of the right table. And now 1 means what? Alice is a
Admin.
Alice is a admin.
Yes, sir.
1, 2
So
means Alice
Ben is a user.
And if I give 2 as 2 means
Ben user.
then is only a user. So this third table will be there. And now whenever I will enter the login, when the login page opens, if I enter Alice and I have to enter the password Alice123, right? It is this encryption is stored, but the password is Alice123. So when I enter this, what will happen internally? Tell me now. What will happen internally? First, the user detail service will go and check whether
a password is match or not.
Alice is there or not.
I'm not able to hear anything. Is Umar on mute?
So my just internet, the light, I've switched to my mobile hotspot. So there was this lag. So we will just get the object and then we will decorate that object. We'll decorate the object
Yes,
and
sir.
like this things will go on. So if you now you can have millions of users over here, hundreds of users you can have, no need to give any hard code values.
Mhm.
And you can have hundreds of roles over here, manager, employee, blah blah blah, blah. And each person will have a different access authorization level. Okay, so this we should complete by tomorrow. Okay, guys, then see you all tomorrow tomorrow is 8, right? You just confirm the time on the group because tomorrow I guess
Okay.
it
Shano sir will take the session.
yeah, so I'll just confirm the timing on the evening. But we'll have a session. Tomorrow session is very crucial. Okay,
Yeah,
now
tomorrow I think Thursday, right? Today Thursday, right?
No, yes,
Yes,
today is
Thursday,
Thursday,
sir.
tomorrow is Friday.
Friday tomorrow would be 8. Okay, just confirm. I will confirm with Shanawaz. You also confirm.
okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum.